Former Arkansas governor and Fox News contributor Mike Huckabee. Governor, great to see you on the program today. What's at stake in Georgia?
Well, I think everything is at stake for the country. This isn't just about Georgia anymore. It's very unusual to have two Senate races that come up at the same time because normally terms are staggered between 4 and 6 years. So you have an appointed seat and then a regular elected seat that both coincide at the same time. Now you've got runoffs, but what makes this bigger is that this will decide the balance of the Senate, and should Joe Biden prevail and end up being sworn in, then what you're going to have is a very, very touchy situation. If the Democrats control the White House, the Senate, and the House, it's like giving car keys to a Corvette to a 14-year-old and free access to the liquor cabinet. We're going to be in a world of hurt if that were to happen, in terms of those of us who believe that government ought to do less, not a whole lot more, and not should spend our money, but should be a little more careful. That's what's at stake.
And do you think the Democrats will hit that point on point, or what do you think comes from their side of the aisle now? And also just kind of this notion that all politics are local. I mean, Georgia may not care as much about its bigger role.
Well, if they don't care about the national implications, care about the local implications. Do they believe that more regulation will be good for the prices of the things they put on the shelf? Do they think that losing the Trump tax cuts that gave every Georgia household an average of $6,000 is really not worth much, and they'd love to give it back to the government so the government can waste it? Do they really want China to come back in and have free reign over our country and run right over us with unfair trade agreements? Do they want to go back to the NAFTA days instead of the USMCA days? Do they want more abortion rather than greater restrictions on how many ways you can kill a baby? I mean, there's a lot at stake for Georgia people, and I hope that they think very seriously it is about the country, but it is about the values of the people of Georgia as well.
I want to turn to this. Republicans are demanding that Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell detail the nature of his relationship with a suspected Chinese spy or get off the House Intelligence Committee. New York Republican Elise Stefanik, who sits on the Intel panel, said this.
Not only is it disturbing for any member of Congress to be compromised by the Chinese Communist Party, but particularly if you're a member of Congress who sits on that very select committee that has oversight over our intelligence agencies, that gets highly classified briefings, especially when it comes to adversaries like China, like Russia. Eric Swalwell is compromised, and he needs to step down.
Governor, your thoughts?
She's 100% right. We don't know substantively whether he had some kind of dalliance with the Chinese and the spies that apparently did their best to get their hooks into him. But here's the point. The very appearance of it is such that it is in the best interest of the country, certainly the Democrats, that he step aside from that committee assignment. There's just too much to be compromised there, and Eric Swalwell should do the honorable and the right thing. I don't think he will. I've never seen him do it before. I have no indication that he would this time. But this is the guy who went around lying about Russia, 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 and that the president was compromised with Russia. If anybody has ever been compromised, it's Eric Swalwell with China, and he needs to own up to it and own his mistake.
Let me ask you this. You know, I've talked to CIA experts and I've talked with people who do a whole lot of vetting when you're going to run for president and other offices. I would have to imagine, because you've run for president too, that by the time you get to a point where you are a re-elected sitting member of Congress, you've probably been vetted quite a bit. I mean, the feds gave him a healthy heads up in whatever kind of meeting that was. I mean, I'm curious behind the scenes what you think of what might have gone on. Like, how is it handled?
Yeah, I can't imagine. And by the way, thanks for bringing up that I ran for president. We know how that turned out, but that's okay, Harris. I still love you. But the fact is, the number one thing you do when you're a candidate for a major office is that you engage in opposition research. But the first person you research is yourself. That's where you spend the most money. You find out everything that your opponents are going to find out about you, because they will. And you build yourself a great big thick notebook and determine what it is that could potentially be out there that would hurt you. Now, because of my record, my opposition research on myself was only a page and a half, and it was mostly non-significant things. I'm only kidding. No, the fact is we all have stuff. It may not be damaging if it were true or if it were explained, but there is a maxim in politics that if you're explaining, you're losing. So you need to know what it is you're going to have to explain. Eric Swalwell surely was smart enough. I don't think he's the smartest guy in Congress, but he's surely smart enough to have some indication that all of these relationships and maybe ways in which he had these encounters with Fang Fang surely was going to come out at some point. I can't believe that he wouldn't think that it would.
Interesting. Governor Huckabee, thank you very much. You're so funny. You make me laugh.
I try.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, Harris.